Hey everyone, welcome to Mull to 5. I'm JD, and as usual, I'm here playing the jankiest Tier 3 Spicy Rogue Brews for your viewing pleasure. First things first, if you enjoy what we do here, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to like and subscribe. It's a quick and easy way to show your support, and it really helps us out. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Main Phase Media. These videos would not be possible without them, so please check them out for all your graphic design and video production needs. And finally, if you have your own janky masterpiece you'd like to see me play, you can leave a comment below, or you can shoot an email to the address in the description below. And we'll get straight to the deck tech now, and it's Tribal Tuesday. Today's tribe is Shamans, and so this is kind of this has been around for a while, as it's kind of a rogue tribal deck. Been on the fringes, but the big payoff, the reason you're playing Shamans, is for Rage Forger. This is the key card in the deck. It's a 3-mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other shaman creature you control. Great. And then whenever a creature you control with a counter on it attacks, you may have that creature deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. So it's like a Hellrider kind of effect. And it can add up really quickly and get really aggressive. So Rage Forger is the key card. It's pretty amazing. And so in order to find him and keep the deck consistent, the other big card is Flamekin Harbinger. This is our ideal turn 1 play. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for an elemental card, reveal it, then shuffle your library, put it on top. So playing Flamekin Harbinger turn 1, sticking the Rage Forger on top, and guaranteeing that we draw him. So essentially, we have 8 copies of Rage Forger in the deck. We have the man himself, and then 4 ways to search him up. So hopefully we're staying consistent and finding him that way. Other shamans we have, we'll take a look at the 1-drop. The other 1-drop we have is a Pelt Collector. It is not a shaman. It's an elf warrior. However, he does get +1/+1 counters. Whenever another creature enters or dies, if it's bigger than him, he gets a counter. And as long as he has 3 or more counters on it, it has trample. So it's a solid card in an aggressive creature-based deck anyway. And he gets counters. So Rage Forger, the good thing is he doesn't care about whether, when he enters the battle, the enter the battlefield effect cares about shamans, but the attack effect only cares about +1/+1 counters. It doesn't matter what type of creature the counter is on. So Pelt Collector benefits from that attack mechanic. So doesn't care that he's not a shaman. If Pelt Collector has a counter on it, he will deal the damage. And the other good thing is that it's an elf, which benefits from our Wolf Skull Shaman. We'll kind of jump around here. This is a good value creature. It has kinship. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it shares a creature type with Wolf Skull Shaman, you may reveal it. If you do, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So we want every creature in our deck to be either a shaman or an elf. And so obviously we've got tons of shamans, and luckily Pelt Collector fulfills the role of elf. So it will still trigger our Wolf Skull Shaman. Speaking of Wolf Skull Shaman, Wolf Skull is like a very good value generating card. You would think if you're in a very creature heavy deck playing green, you would want to play Collected Company. However, Collected Company is fucking expensive. And, we play cheap jank around here. Cheap-ish. So I opted not for Collected Company, and I decided to get our value elsewhere. And to be fair, I don't know that Collected Company would even be the best in this deck. You really, really get the power of Collected Company when you can ramp into it turn 3 ahead of curve with like a Birds of Paradise or a Noble Hierarch. So I think you'd have to kind of restructure the deck a little bit to make Collected Company get its full value. So I went a different route. We have no mana dorks, and our curve tops out at 3. So a little more low to the ground, and we're generating value elsewhere. One of them being the Wolf Skull Shaman that I already mentioned. Another value card is Elvish Visionary. It is a shaman. It is an elf. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So it replaces itself. We're getting card advantage there. Boss Banneret reduces the cost of all shamans we cast by 1 colorless. This is a pretty great card. It does not play nice with Burning Tree Emissary because that requires 2 colored mana, so the colorless cost reduction doesn't really do much of anything. But pretty much every other card in the deck, with the exception of Metallic Mimic, Bosk Banneret is reducing the cost. And obviously the 1-drops. Well, so I guess maybe it's not that much. He's reducing cost of Visionary, Wolf Skull Shaman, Rage Forger, Eternal Witness. That's good enough in my book. So we'll see how he performs. Maybe you could take this out. Maybe it doesn't quite have enough targets. We'll see. Speaking of Metallic Mimic, this is a great lord in our deck, in addition to Rage Forger. So we choose Shamans. It then becomes a shaman once it's on the battlefield. So it won't trigger Wolf Skull Shaman from the top of the deck, but once it's on the battlefield, it becomes a shaman. And then each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So this is giving things +1/+1 counters. Rage Forger cares about counters. Works great. So good lord in our deck. Already touched on Burning Tree briefly. Again, just good value. It helps us spew our hand onto the battlefield much more quickly. When it enters, you add red-green to your mana pool. So if you've got 3 of these in hand, you can chain all 3 of them together, keep casting them off the mana produced from the previous one. You can cast one, throw out a Bosk Banneret, throw out an Elvish Visionary, throw out a Wolf Skull Shaman. I mean, you can use the mana to pay for a lot of things. Burning Tree, Pelt Collector, Lightning Bolt. It's just great value. It lets you dump your hand pretty quickly. And the final creature, I believe, is Eternal Witness. Again, more card advantage. We're trying to get our value. This deck can be very aggressive, but it can also play kind of a grindier value game too. As I've kind of shown with some of these cards, Eternal Witness is another one that helps us do that. It's a shaman, which helps our game plan. When it enters the battlefield, we're returning a card from a graveyard to our hand. So it's essentially drawing us a card similar to Visionary. So we're hopefully keeping our hand stocked, keep the momentum going, keep applying pressure. So Eternal Witness is pretty solid. And then the only non-creature, non-land spell in our whole deck is Lightning Bolt, which is basically an auto-include if you're playing red. So this gives us a little bit of removal, and it can help us close out the game, go to the face. But it's not so many non-creature spells that our Wolf Skull Shaman is hopefully hitting very often. We'll go to the mana base now. I have 1 Cavern of Souls. Again, it's expensive. I happen to have the 1, so I included it. Obviously name Shaman, or if you're in a pinch and you really want like your Pelt Collector or something, or Metallic Mimic to resolve, you could name Elf or whatever. But we're naming Shaman for the most part. And being so full of creatures, we don't really have to worry about getting screwed on colors. Like Cavern of Souls can't tap for red to cast Lightning Bolt. But that's the only card it can't cast. Everything else is a creature, so it taps for colors for everything else. So you could definitely include more caverns if you had them, if you wanted to drop the money. That's one way you can improve this deck. Some basic forests, some basic mountains, a couple Mutavaults. I only included 2 of them because they do tap for colorless, so we don't want to screw ourselves with like a Mutavault and like a forest as our only 2 lands in hand, and then we can't cast our Burning Tree. So yeah, they're great. They can turn into a shaman. They can, attack and block and do all those fun things, but it doesn't tap for a colored mana source. So I only wanted to include 2 of them so we don't run into them too often. Then there's Pendelhaven. It's a one of. It's legendary. It taps for green, comes in untapped. It's kind of a why not. Basically replaces a forest, basic forest. And it allows all of our little 1/1s to get +1/+2 until end of turn. So Pelt Collector, when he's still a 1/1, gets the bonus. Elvish Visionary, and I think that's it. Oh, Flamekin Harbinger. So it's got a few targets. Worth the include. It's an untapped green source at worst, so it's a kind of a why not thing. Stomping Grounds and Wooded Foothills to make sure we hit the colors we need. And that covers the main deck. We'll slide on over to the sideboard here. Let's see. Ancient Grudge for any pesky artifacts. Ruin Blaster comes in against Tron, or potentially like blue-white control. We could blow up their Celestial Colonnades, and maybe any greedy decks that are 3 or 4 colors. So Ruin Blaster is some land hate, definitely against Tron. Troll Ascetic, hexproof, and it regenerates. So this is good against the attrition-based like Jund decks, black-green, control, etc. This guy's a good card. Vexing Shusher. This is very good against the control matchup. He himself can't be countered, and then if we pay a red or a green, we can make all our spells uncounterable. So Vexing Shusher, it comes in the control matchup. Relic of Progenitus comes in the graveyard-based matchups. This, unfortunately, does not play nice with our Eternal Witness, so if we're bringing this in, we're probably bringing the Witness out. But we need some way to hate on graveyards, so Relic it is. And I think that does it for the deck tech. We are going to take this to a friendly Modern League and see how we do. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. It should be a lot of fun. We'll see how the Shamans do. I'll see you guys in the first match. Thank you for watching.